Hello, it's Jimmy and my lovely partner Charlotte,
Hello.
who has just launched her own Booktube channel, Grow the Book. So at the end of this, Charlotte will say a bit more about what that's like, but there'll be a link in the description in this video. Go and subscribe and check out her videos.
Please.
So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about a mini bookshop tour we did in London when visiting some of my family there a few months ago. So we visited 4 lovely small independent bookshops. They all have their own distinct histories. Some of them are quite old, one of them was very new, and we picked up at least one book in each one. So we're going to talk a bit about each bookshop, what's significant and interesting about it, and show you some but not all of the books that we got on our little bookshop tour. So the first bookshop we visited was Gaze the Word. Do you want to talk a bit about Gaze the Word?
Yeah, so Gaze the Word is probably most famous, made most famous in the film Pride, which came out a couple of years ago. It has the honour of being the only gay bookshop in London, as far as I'm aware. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's the only gay bookshop in England. I know that there's, I keep saying gay, I mean LGBT. I get distracted by the name, gay is the word, but it's an LGBT bookshop. And like I said, I think it's the only LGBT bookshop in England. I think there was one in Glasgow that's just opened called Category is Books, as far as I'm aware. But anyway, like I said, it's made famous in the film Pride, which is about a group called LGSM, Lesbians and Gay Support the Minors, and it was a group that was kind of centred around this bookshop and did lots of their organising there. So as you can imagine, it's steeped in this incredible political history, this history of leftist activism and organisation, queer activism. So it's a really special place to go just to be in. It's a lovely bookshop anyway. It's quite small, but it's packed full of lots of different bits and pieces. There's fiction, there's poetry, lots of non-fiction too, magazines. They have a second-hand bookshop section. They've got this part of the wall which is covered in badges and pins in it, so you can have a look. You can also get some merchandise that is more to do with LGSM. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
I sometimes say LSGM by accident, but it's a great bookshop, and if you're in Soho, you should definitely go and visit. We bought quite a few books from there. This is maybe our 3rd time visiting, and the stuff that we bought was mainly non-fiction this time, I think, and these are just a couple of the books that we bought, so they're all pleasingly colour coordinated. So I bought the Stonewall Reader, which is about the Stonewall riots, you probably guessed. I'm really enjoying this so far. It's broken up into 3 sections: before Stonewall, during Stonewall and after Stonewall, and I think it's a really good primer if you don't know that much about the riots in the first place. I also bought a collection of Ali Smith's short stories called Other Stories and Other Stories. I just like the name. And I think this one was yours.
Yeah, so one of the books I got there was called Towards a Gay Communism by Mario Mieli. And I've heard of Mario Mieli. He's quite a significant queer theorist from Italy, maybe the most significant Italian queer theorist, and his work has only recently been translated into English. So I've heard a lot about him, and I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm excited to dig in and finally get to read his stuff for myself in English.
And I think we even bought a few more, but we can't remember what they were. So we did splurge at Gay is the Word. And then we moved on to another bookshop, which is quite nearby, also in Soho. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
So the next one we went to was Bookmarks, which is a socialist bookshop that they've got quite a mix of books. They've got fiction, non-fiction, they've got sections on different struggles for equality, whether that's race or gender equality. And I picked up this little book about the early 20th century history of the Industrial Workers of the World Union, and I have read this book and didn't think it was very good. I didn't really enjoy it. But the bookshop itself is well worth a visit. It's a treasure trove. I saw loads of interesting books in there that I'd love to pick up another time. So it's worth a visit. The next bookshop, we didn't originally plan to go to when we envisioned the day, but we realised we were nearby and I wanted to go and check it out because I'd heard good things, and it's got quite a funny and popular Twitter account, and that is the London Review of Books bookshop. So London Review of Books is a literary sort of paper magazine publication thing, and they also publish some of their own books, which I think are mainly compilations of articles and stories and things that have appeared in their main publication. And we went there, and it's sort of a general interest trade bookshop, a bit like what you might see at Waterstones or something like that, but it's really nicely laid out, really well curated in a really interesting way. They had a really nice display by the till, which instead of being an author of the month was translator of the month, and had all sorts of different books translated by this person. So I think the people who work there are really into what they do, and I think they put a lot of creativity and thoughtfulness into curating that bookshop to make it a really nice space for what is quite a commercial bookshop. So Charlotte bought a book there.
And it's called Four in a Bed, and I think it is one of those I've not read this yet. It's one of those compilations, so it's a selection of articles or short stories on writing about sex. And I was particularly attracted to this. Oh, actually, maybe I wasn't attracted to this because I thought there was a particular author in here. Maybe that was another one, but I just thought it would be a quick and easy read, and it's very aesthetically pleasing, as is the rest of the London Review of Books bookshop. I'd agree that the staff are really creative and interesting people, clearly. They're also very friendly, which I forgot to mention about Gaze the Word as well. The staff in Gaze the Word are just so nice and always up for a chat, and a couple of them are on Twitter, so you should seek them out, and they've got really interesting accounts on Twitter.
Yeah, some really great people working in those shops.
And then the last bookshop we went to was a little bit of a surprise, in a good way and a bad way. I think we went to the second shelf, which is still in Soho. We went back into Soho, and I bought this book, Shelf Life by Livia Francini. The second shelf is a specialist bookshop, which we hadn't really anticipated. I'd kind of assumed that it was more kind of general commercial bookshop, but it focuses on selling first editions of women writers, so it's all women writers, and they're all either first edition or rare books. It's a really cute looking little shop from the outside. It's pink and looks really pretty. When you get inside, it's crammed full of all different stuff. Clearly the person who runs it, and her name escapes me now, I think it might be Anne, I'm not sure, is incredibly passionate about what she does. I think she's a really inspirational person to follow on Twitter as well, because she talks quite openly about her journey of running an independent bookshop and working as a book dealer, especially a rare book dealer. So if you're interested in that side of the industry, she's definitely one to follow. But again, the people who work there were super friendly, obviously up for a chat. They've got loads of amazing stuff if you're looking for something really special, I think. And I was actually quite pleased to pick this up, because when I got it, it wasn't even on commercial release. I didn't actually realise that at the time. So I've not read this yet, but I've heard it's amazing, and it will always be treasured because of where I got it from. So yeah.
Yeah, it is a lovely little shop. It is mainly focused at collectors and aimed at getting book collectors to include more books by women in their collections. So it's definitely a really carefully curated shop. It is a bit of a sort of magical cave because it is small but packed full of interesting old things. But if you're not necessarily a collector of rare books, you might end up going and admiring a lot of the books, but not necessarily finding something you're going to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth being aware of that. But I'd still recommend going to visit if you're a book lover. It's still a special place.
And it's important to support those independent bookshops.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely worth a trip.
I definitely agree, Charlotte. And if you want to hear more of Charlotte's fantastic insights, you should go and check out her brand new Booktube channel, Grow the Book. Like throw the book, but grow the book.
Yeah, it's a great pun. Thanks for explaining to me.
Do you want to tell us more about it?
Well, I filmed one video so far. Second is on the way, about my favourite LGBT reads so far of the year. So especially if you perhaps are interested in the books that we picked up from Gay is the Word, I may or may not have included one of those books. Little bit of a teaser there. But yes, please check out my channel and try to bear with me horrifically embarrassing myself for just a little bit.
And we have another bookshop tour video planned and in the works, and that one is going to go up on Charlotte's channel, Grow the Books. So make sure you go and subscribe to get the next video in this little series that we're doing together. So make sure you subscribe, leave us a comment down below, check out the links in the description, including to Charlotte's new channel and some of the bookshop's Twitter accounts that are well worth a follow. And let us know if you've been to any of these bookshops. What are your favourite bookshops? What city has the best bookshops that we should do a tour or bookshop tour if we end up in that city? And thanks very much for watching.
Bye.